Hello,
Hello, people.
JTH here.
Mr. Tozero. I am sitting up because I'm letting the food, the McDonald's, digest. I just had like a bunch of, I had like 20 chicken McNuggets and 2 cheeseburgers. I'm fat. Deal with it.
Okay, anyways, we got part 3 of Stripes and Scales coming your way.
Ah,
Chapter 3. And this is going to be the last part, and tragically, this is the only fanfic we had time for today.
smack your ass.
But hey, we're giving you something. I'm just hoping that you're gone for as long as you were last time. This time it was like only a month.
Yeah, well, it was like more like 3 weeks.
3 weeks a month. It said our last reaction was a month ago.
Smack your ass.
So, about a month.
I'm sorry.
I know,
Sorry.
I know you're just being silly.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry.
Dude, seriously. Can we please get to this
I'm
story?
sorry. Yeah, go.
Okay. Chapter 3. And then we get that much anticipated aftermath.
Oh, wow, what a title.
Oh,
Pretty
that's...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's pretty much telling you there's going to be boinking in this one.
Oh, that's the stuff, Spike said, his forked tongue hanging out as he sighed deeper. The previous raw sore condition of his new skin was readily being replenished to a comfortable state thanks to the weird goo stuff Zecora lathered on his backside. They were in the zebra's bedroom, Spike lounging on his stomach atop a tiger skin-set bedsheet of her mattress.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. Zecora was atop his back, rubbing the strange lotion into his scales, massaging him with her entire body.
Nice.
She had even removed her neck and leg rings for the sake of comfort.
How did they take those off?
No idea. How'd you get so good? How'd you get so good at massages anyhow? Spike asked with a cathartic groan. A shaman like I must be well versed in relieving all things under any curse, as Zecora whispered. These aren't remedies in which pony folk take part. My medicinal ways are of the heart. Again, why is this guy so good?
Who knows?
Well, you've certainly helped with my curses, I can tell you that. Spike stretched out his wings, Zecora's hooves carefully rubbing their sides. She helped get them to full length, taking care not to be too rough with Spike's new appendages. Everywhere Zecora touched, Spike felt a tingle and jolt, causing him to giggle uncontrollably. Soon, however, he grew used to the sensation, but still couldn't help grinning. You know, dragons are weird. First you get a weird skin condition, then you get set on fire a couple of times, then you begin shedding scales, and before you know it, you're all skin. Also, getting these wings are part of the deal as well. Yeah, really, really weird. Spike's words, not mine. There we go. He didn't mention the rising unrelented urges starting to overwhelm him again, for fear that it'd make him seem like a creep. How would letting Zecora know his desires were taking form impress her in the slightest? Actually, why he even had desires was a good question in itself. Sure, he was a teenager and he had urges like this, just like any other kid going through puberty. But never to the extent that he felt like he'd burn up without relieving it. Did a new pair of wings also mean a new pair of... Well, he certainly isn't going to check now, not in front of Zecora. Unless she wanted to see it. Wow. She did kiss him earlier, which he had to admit he greatly enjoyed. But why would she be interested in him? She was a pretty attractive mare in her own right, and earlier he was a dragon with a skin condition that would put most acne-covered teenager to shame. And now his skin was more vulnerable than a newborn foal's. The dangerous concoction of confusing emotions and post-adolescent hormones was starting to give Spike a migraine. Yet all that seemed to fade as Zecora continued to grind along his back, slathering him in the slippery lotion. Thoughts did not do good for him when he could enjoy such an erotic, sensual kindness from the exotic mare, so he let his mind go for a while. He enjoyed the candlelight, he enjoyed the stinging pain ebbing away with every pass of Zecora's body. He enjoyed the little breath she made near his fins as she slid along him. When he woke that morning, he was more as uncomfortable than he'd ever felt. He hadn't imagined he'd be in such bliss at sundown. Excuse me a moment there. My medicinal ways are of the heart. Oh, repeat of what Zecora said earlier. He was thinking of that. Spike decided to let his heart do the talking. Zecora, I'm going for broke here, so if you're going to kick me out of your hut, at least let me say everything I have to. Zecora waited until she was up against Spike's fins once again to say, mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, there we go, perfect. I have this insatiable fire that I just can't get rid of, and it's been growing ever since I started growing. I assumed it would go away after I got rid of the itch, but it's still there. That's why I can't keep my claws off you. That's why I'm beyond aroused right now. You're so beautiful. I don't know if this urge will ever go away, but if I could share it with someone, it'd be you. So he pretty much just flat out said it.
Yeah, he wants to boink her.
I was wondering when you were going to say something. You were being so quiet.
I was reading something.
Oh.
And listening. It's hard to read and listen, though.
Spike sighed. What should have been a few seconds felt like an eternity, elongated even further as Zecora's body massage ended. Spike brought his palm to his face, groaning in shame. He said it. He was glad, but he also felt like dirt. And he doubted that would go away as easily as the itch. When he no longer felt Zecora on his back, he assumed she had left him to wallow in his own idiocy. Spike tensed up, preparing for the worst when he heard Zecora speak. This part, the most difficult to state, is a budding dragon's desire to mate. The transition to adulthood stokes a dragon's inner fire. Her hoof turned Spike's face towards her. Her eyes glimmered in the candlelight. There was no contempt to be seen there. Spike, my dear, I would love nothing more than to quell your inner fire. Okay. That turned out better than Spike expected.
Alright, well, he's going to get some zebra ass. Well, I should say plot, really.
Yeah. Instantly, Spike felt that inner fire engulf him like an inferno. Really? Wow. That's, a much better response than I expected. He noticed that Zecora was sitting on her haunches, her chest covered in the lotion she used to relieve his raw skin. So, how exactly do you want to do this? I'm not exactly the most, experienced guy at this sort of thing. Your heart will tell you what to do. I lend all my trust to you, Zecora said, resting her chin on her chest and eyeing Spike with a sultry look. Spike nodded. He turned over, using what little control he had of his wings to flatten them against his back. The lotion had done its job well, as his back didn't sting anymore. However, his front was still exposed and sensitive. Red marks could be seen down the length of his stomach, so the skin so raw even the slightest touch irked him. Zecora seemed to understand that much. She slowly splayed herself over Spike's front, the lotion upon her body quickly meshing with his skin. She slid along the length of him just like she had done before, only this time she was doing more than just bringing him comfort. There was something different in the way she breathed. She was cooing and gasping. Spike realized she was trying to be sexy for him, digging deeper into the basin of his arousal. It was working. Spike was about to compliment her on how amazing her body felt on his, but he was silenced by her wet, passionate kiss. And so it begins.
Yes, it certainly does. It's sex!
Spike eagerly accepted the gift of her lips and returned the favor with his tongue. Each wet, sloppy motion made him burn hotter. Zecora's movements up and down his belly further stoking his flames. He was an unstoppable flame, bright and passionate, burning hotter as the night crept upon them. And before he knew it, that flame began to grow eager to join in on the fun. The two let out long-held breaths as the kiss broke. but Spike could feel every single motion of Zeccora's lips as she spoke. I feel you, Spike. You're grand and strong. Spike could feel it too. His swelling pride was sandwiched between him and Zeccora's stomach, growing slicker every minute by the lotion's touch. Yep, it's starting right here, right now.
See it, of course.
Waves and jolts of pleasure accompanied the fire inside of him. He couldn't contain his moans.
Sorry.
Zecora kissed him again, this time lightly. She halted her grinding before whispering, I hope this night lasts for very long. Now, there's the rhyme to before. Well, I'm sure Twilight won't mind me sleeping over for some special treatment from you, Spike said with a chuckle. He felt himself throb down below, the slick touch of Zeccora's wet coat against it only making it even more eager to be relieved. Taking a peek over Zeccora's shoulder, Spike whistled. Dang, I don't remember it being that big before. Looks like the package with puberty includes a new package as well.
Wow.
That's one way of putting it.
Yep.
Zeccora's constant rubbing against it with her back leg made Spike bite his bottom lip in surprise, nearly drawing blood. Her length continued to make it grow and swell, becoming rock hard as it rose to attention. Spike was throbbing in impatience to dispel some energy. There we go. Zecora, please. He felt a little embarrassed to beg, but now more than ever, he wanted her. Much to his pleasure, she abided, rising off Spike. Drops of lotion fell from her chest as she edged to his lower regions, where his budding growth needed some desperate attention.
Oh, sorry, stretch.
Yeah, I know. She sat down on her haunches between his legs, smiling with a hungry look in her eyes at the prize before her.
She wants the deek. The D, she wants the D.
With the hoof slick from the lotion before she touched his length, the cool lotion sent Spike's mind spinning, but he resisted the urge to close his eyes and look away. He wanted to watch her. She slid her hoof up and down his shaft, quick fluid motions that were soon joined by her other hoof. She stroked him slowly, appeasing his desires. Before too long, she was successful in releasing his maximum length, holding it against her belly as she continued to rub it between her hooves. Spike let out a breath he forgot he was holding. He couldn't believe how amazing it felt. The continuous motions of Zeccora's hoof along his cock made his spine tremble with excitement. Zecora let out a deep hum before leaning up against him, laying tender kisses upon the base. All it took was a simple dab of her tongue to make Spike gasp and his cock to twitch. Zecora chuckled quietly and traced a long lick that traveled all the way from the base to the very tip. She didn't stop there. Her tongue was soon joined by her lips and finally the rest of her mouth.
Damn. Just pretend that you're the one getting your dick sucked. I can dream, can't I?
Oh, shit. Shit. This is fucking awesome, Spike sighed. Never before could he imagine the warm mouth of America feel so wonderful. Zecora's mouth enwrapped the head of his dick, her tongue flicking in and out to lap at and lash at the tip as of his shaft in expert motions. Expert? Really? She was soon encircling his head with her tongue, the slathering of saliva from her mouth leaking out and pooling at the base of his dick. The burning fire within him demanded more, however, it had just gotten a taste, and it wasn't going to stop until it burned everything around it down. Luckily, Zecora knew this as well, and went to work starting to slide her head down his length. So, I guess we can take she's really getting into this.
Well, of course.
She went slow and steady, both hooves still rubbing his shaft while her head inched downward. Her tongue never stopped moving, licking and wrapping itself around his shaft every second so Spike couldn't have a moment's rest. Not like he wanted one, since this was the most euphoric he ever felt in recent memory. The rawness of his skin and changes to his new adult body didn't even matter. All there was in the world was him, Zecora, and a burning fire she gladly fulfilled. Which is why when she finally reached the base of his dick, having stuffed the entire length of his cock down her throat... Wow. Spike let out a hungry moan. Still with his dick in her mouth, Zecora used her hooves to to play with his testicles, bouncing and stretching them against one another like they were a toy. Okay. I know that's supposed to be sexual and all, but that still made me laugh. Her tongue never rested, still carrying out its restless motions of wrapping around his length like a snake and squeezing him dry. That's a good comparison. Comparing it to a snake. Okay. After several seconds, Zecora looked at him with those innocent yet lustful eyes that smiled with her mouth still full. She slid her head halfway up, and then immediately shoved his cock back into her mouth, hormones vibrating across Spike's whole body. She repeated this process with great haste, each attempt resulting in more and more length she'd stuff down her throat. Her tongue was still agile, the base being used to lick the bottom of his shaft while the tip licked his sides. Before too long, Spike was left in a state so filled with bliss and pleasure he couldn't find the energy to warn her or even stop the impending end of his endurance. Are you ready? Are you ready to say your catchphrase? I'll take that as a yes. White seed drained from what little area was left between Zecora's lips and Spike's length. I came! How good does it feel to say that again?
Feels good.
It was like a hot sludge streaming as it dribbled down, pooling around the base of his cock. Spike thought he could relax after that, but another wave shot through him, erupting right from his tip and right into Zecora's mouth again. Yet she kept her lips planted firmly around him, sliding down, sucking what little cum had escaped. Spike felt a slight tug on his cock. His eyes widened as he realized Zecora had swallowed. Damn is right. No. Damn! Ron Simmons again. It's worth that. It's worth saying that out loud and hard, like, because that's all you can really say. With a pop and a gasp, Zecora pulled off of Spike. He was now slightly bent, having lost a lot of the hardness that had been building up over all this time. Seed was still draining from the tip. Spike looked at Zecora's face again. She was lustful as expected. He saw satisfaction and peace upon her too. He figured out that she was content. There was no place she would rather be than now with this adult dragon.
Nice.
Okay. Spike felt a little guilty. After all the sexy shaman had done for him, he had still yet to return the favor in any way. But then he realized something. Many times she had licked and sucked him. He had noticed that her hind legs. He had noticed her hind legs grinding together. Oh boy. Perhaps it was the act itself that was bringing her arousal, or it could have been anticipation for what Spike could possibly do when his cock was inside her. Okie dokie. Spike, foregoing any warning for the sake of passion, wrapped his claws around Zecora's forelegs. He pushed her against her back, his turn to be the one on top of her. Though not for long, for soon he shifted his attention and claws to the bottom of her body. There, Spike grabbed both of Zecora's hind legs and carefully pulled them aside, revealing her good way to say it, her jungle flower. That's a good one.
God.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah.
Within what had only been... Excuse me. That inner fire within him had only been relieved somewhat. It wasn't out. Not by a long shot.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Before he dived right in, Spike gave Zecora's leg a long, teasing lick. He stood up to Zecora and winked. Hope you don't mind me having a little snack. Oh!
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Spike taking charge. With an almost hungry desire, Spike wet his lips and tongue and placed it right against the lips of her pussy, opening his mouth slightly. He slid his tongue inside her, saliva pooling from his mouth as it mixed with Zecora's own sexual juices. Her taste was amazing, much like the forest she inhabited. Salty with a bit of tang, the flavor enamored his senses and made him lap without hesitation. only wanting to drag his tongue along every inch of her insides.
Double kill, kill.
Monster kill, kill, kill.
Not like I'm taking glances at Bombs' game.
Playing League again?
Yes, Trace playing.
Sakura moaned with every pass of his tongue, accompanying with her legs flexing and her back arching. With one hoof over her face, she gasped, "Your wonderful tongue makes my knee ache." Spike, oh, that's Rarity's line. Darling, please me for goodness sake. Good way to rhyme again.
Hell yeah.
So she's really getting into it again.
She's having fun.
That was a side of her he had never witnessed before, but he wasn't one to leave her waiting.
Never ignore a mare's heartfelt please.
I guess not. Her folds had parted enough already to reveal her needy, swelling nub. Taking care not to do anything harmful with his claws, Spike pressed against the clit gently. Even that was close. Even that was enough to hasten Sakura's breath. He flicked at it and pressed his tongue against it for a strong, lasting lick. Sakura panted like a diamond dog in heat.
What the fuck?
I don't know. She could have said something else, but whatever.
That works, though.
He circled his tongue around it, using the fork of his tip to unwrap it and lick it with more hastily laps and swirls. With his thumb, he gently pressed it inside her, wiggling around it while focusing his attention on fondling her clit with wild abandon with his tongue. Sakura's only means of how much she lusted for Spike's ministrations was to touch his head. Her begging and pleading for him to make her come what was lost in her rapid moans. She had never been this captivated by any bedfellow, nor did she ever have one so selfless and giving. She almost feared her inevitable climax, since that would mean the end of the constant bursts of elation brought on by her dragon. But no matter how much she bit her lip and clenched her muscles, Spike's bottomless energy and dexterity of his tongue finally put her under, and it was met with a loud, lustful moan. Spike relinquished his tongue shortly after the waterworks began. Waterworks. Okay, that's good. Sakura's tropical juices began flowing from her flower, leaving her legs in bed drenched. Her nectar was all the more visible in the candlelight, giving her nethers and legs a radiant orange glow. Spike licked his lips, accidentally lapping up some of Sakura's juice in the process. He pursed his lips and smiled. You taste like salty mangoes. I've never had a mango before.
You've never? They're good.
So I don't know what they taste like.
They look good. They have their own unique flavor.
I don't know what they taste like with salt, though.
Oh no, don't do it with salt.
I guess they don't taste that good.
I've never tried them myself. I don't think I want to.
Sakura smiled back up at him. He was sure her glowing expression was not from the candlelight. With one more shudder, the zebra rolled onto her forelegs and pushed herself onto her haunches. However, she only remained upright for a moment before collapsing. Spike was quick to catch her, holding her hoof in one hand and stroking her white mane with the other. Sakura made her desire to keep going apparent with several nips on Spike's dorsal fin. She wants more? Wow.
Supposed to get fucked. Not lying.
Spike himself knew he still wasn't quite satisfied. The fire was dwindling, but it was still well and burning. Whatever weird hormonal responses were going on in his brain, since you're laying back down, let me fix the camera.
I think I've digested enough.
Since you're laying back down, let me adjust the camera. While in burning, whatever weird hormonal responses were going on in his brain, they still had much to be dealt with. The fire wasn't about to die out with just a bit of foreplay, and he knew Sakura was the only one who could help him put it out. So, you good for a round two? Spike asked, only 2 fingers up with a smirk on his face. Sakura Sakura kissed Spike's fin as well as his cheek, the latter being much more passionate and affectionate than the other. Spike smiled at her, letting out a low breath before he felt her hoof touching the base of his dragon once again. Well, could have given me more warning than that. Not that I'm complaining. He spread his legs and let Sakura stroke him. She kept him occupied with depraved open-mouthed kiss, with a depraved open-mouthed kiss, with their tongues quickly trading saliva in droves. He could taste some of himself in her mouth, while she in turn could taste herself in his. As they smacked lips and traded saliva, Spike's lower pride began to swell up again, standing tall and erect with Zecora's good nature and convincing. Without thinking, his hips began to sway upward and down, his shaft stroking Zecora's leg before moving to the glorious prize. The glorious wet prize it so dearly wanted. Oh. Spike's length had a mind of its own as it rubbed against Zecora's pussy, the motions becoming quicker and more heated along with Zecora's and Spike's tongues, which dueled for supremacy in their mouths. Instinctively, Spike reached out and grasped both of Zecora's flanks, giving them a firm squeeze, which caused the mare to moan into his mouth. "Whenever you're ready," Spike whispered, kneading her fur in slow rotations. Each patch of his claws was stronger than the last. Zecora grinded against Spike's cock in synchronization with his touch. The way she gyrated her hips combined with the fire in her eyes, it was almost hypnotic, the spell only being broken by her leaning her head back and calling out as Spike began to slip inside her. Is it wrong that I'm feeling really aroused by this? Is it wrong?
Okay. Let me explain something here to you. I told everyone out there, I jerk off to this point, to pornography of this shit. I got a boner the size of, well, fucking a watermelon right now. That's weird, but I got I got a big ass boner right now. I want to grab Zecora by her hair and ram my dick into that rump so hardcore. So no, it's not weird.
Okay, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again. You're a perv.
Yes, I am.
I think your pony pervertedness is rubbing off on me.
I think Super Bombs is probably like you're a fucking freak.
Is that what you're thinking, Bombs?
No.
No.
I don't really care too much.
Oh. Okay. When he thought her mouth felt like heaven, that was a gross oversight. He was truly in paradise now, and with each further penetration he went deeper into nirvana. His mind was at bliss, and that raging inferno finally had something to burn. Spike spread Zecora's ass out with his hands, allowing him more room to fit his shaft in. It was a tight squeeze, and he almost considering giving up and bottoming out, but eventually he got the full length fit snugly to his base, much to Zecora's gaping approval. She kissed him again, holding her hooves tight to his shoulders as he began to rock his hips, with Zecora's rump held firmly in place. She was entirely at his mercy, passing into her and pulling out easily. It was like her inner walls were a perfect fit for him. Okie dokie. Right there. It was so simple, but so right. Zecora's moans were all Spike needed to know he was pleasing her. And the way she squeezed him, her whilst clung to his cock like a vice, only accentuated her deep voice. Spike knew how cathartic this was for her, even if her need didn't catch up to his in the slightest. Regardless, he wanted her to feel good before he did.
Good.
Oh yes, Zecora gasped, her head tilting involuntarily. Touch me. I beg for your caress. With no further prompting needed from her, Spike eagerly pushed back into her folds with resounding strength, returning his base of his shaft inside her. Not giving up this pace, he pulled back out and repeated the process, his length sliding in and out of her depths with increasing speed, while his balls slapped against her pussy each time he pulled back in. Each pounding of his cock deep inside caused Zecora to cry out, which only drove Spike's lust to new limits.
Yeah.
He licked the sweat off her neck while squeezing her ass cheeks tighter, groping them with each thrust just to fit more of himself inside her. Every sensation was a tidal wave of pleasure to Spike's brain, his new instincts eating it up and begging for more, while Zecora in turn was drowning in a sea of pleasure unlike any she had ever experienced before.
Yeah.
You're really going into the passion and lust they're feeling, aren't you, dude?
This guy's a good writer.
I'll say that.
Who's the author?
I'll have to see once we're done. Just as Spike felt his climax begin to rise, he heard a rather sinister voice in the back of his head. He figured that it was his inner voice telling him to do something to lessen the flames, something to assert dominance and take his place as a true dragon. He listened, and he understood, feeling a new sort of itch crawl over him, but he wasn't about to do something to accidentally hurt Zecora and ruin her night. Hey, Spike said, breaking a rather passionate kiss between them. I want to try something else, but it's a little rough. You okay with that? Zecora rubbed Spike's bicep and nodded. I fought many a lion, tiger, and bear. To let a dragon have his way with me only seems fair.
Damn.
Why is this guy so good at making her rhyme?
Because he's just awesome.
Spike smiled, licking the lips of his... You okay?
I'm good.
Sorry. Spike smiled, licking the lips of his lustful grin.
Damn.
Great. Now get on your stomach real quick. Zecora complied, getting off Spike while his dick slid out of her pussy with a wet noise. Turned the other way, giving an ample view of her tribal ass, and settled on her stomach. She was only able to relax for a moment before her legs got whisked in the air by Spike's eager claws, grabbing a hold of her. Damn.
You know?
Okay, let me see if I can get this right, Spike muttered, sticking his tongue out as he groped the stripes on her ass. The tip of his dick was slick from the previous pussy pounding he had gleefully taken part in, while Zecora herself was wet and slippery as well. After multiple failed attempts, he finally got back inside her, causing her to put her head back down on the bed. Now her rump stuck in the air while he pushed his length fully back into her. Spike's own large size, making it so he had to rest both of his hands on either of her sides and his face inches from her neck. Letting out a large breath from his own nose that caused Zecora's skin to get goosebumps, Spike asked, "So, ready to begin?" I yearn for feeling your strength within me. Zecora's breath was almost hot as Spike's. Do as you wish. Do not make me plea. Wowsies. That sounded like something Pinky would say.
My dick is rock hard right now.
Grunting, Spike pulled back out and thrust inside her. The earlier hesitation and slowness thrown out the door. His inner fire needed to be burned in a true glorious fashion now. And this position gave Spike the ultimate chance for that. For each thrust, he felt like he had burned up stronger inside and increasing in temperature to a white hotness that threatened to destroy everything around it. Zecora was prodded by Spike's shaft with much more ferocity, the vigorous pace from before being replaced with an animalistic intensity to maximize Spike's pleasure by pounding her vagina harder and harder as the minutes ticked by. The zebra bit her sheet, too lost in her own mindless state of bliss to respond to any reactionary moan and scream of pleasure. Before too long, Spike felt signs of his climax about to reach its explosive orgasmic end. He gripped Zecora's seat's heart, nearly tearing the animal's skin as he doubled his efforts to expel as much of his inner fire as possible. Lost in his lust, all that mattered was the tight hold of Zecora was his only source of relief, which he gladly used. The loud smack of their sexual organs meeting with each thrust reached a rapid crescendo before dying out in a final grunt from Spike and scream from Zecora. I can! He stayed inside her, slowly pulling out while his seed poured into her depths. Zecora nearly cried out in panic as its heat, but only squinted at its initial warmth, cooled down, left for her to enjoy her own orgasm. His inner fire engulfed his body like a flame overtaking wood, leaving him to enter Zecora with every last pump of his seed as it trickled out of her lower lip, spilling out onto the bed along with her own juice, creating a sticky, slick connection between the two before Spike fully pulled out. Lying on his back, Spike let out a deep breath. No more itching, no more scratching, and no more uncontrollable compulsion to mate. Becoming an adult dragon may have been stressful and a real bitch of a process, but the payoff was quite rewarding. Comfort. Honest to Celestia comfort.
Yep.
Not only did he get to spend an amazing night with the sultry zebra shaman herself, but he also got wings. Wiping some sweat from his forehead, Spike looked up to Zecora and said, "Whew! Tough day, huh?" Her head was on its side. The look of satisfaction upon her face rivaled Spike's. An exciting one of medicinal practice. That is entirely true. But it's worth it to end like this, laying in an embrace with you.
No.
She reached out to Spike with her forelegs. It was obvious that she was too weak to moor towards him by her own doing. Spike reached out to her and wrapped his claws around her hooves and pulled her along the bed. She was strong enough to crawl, allowing her to worm her way just atop of Spike, just like how the evening began. She spread herself out over him, only this time she had no intention of getting off, with his chest acting as a soft heated surface for her to rest against. He was hers for the rest of the night, and he was okay with that. "Thank you," Spike said lazily, running his claws through Zecora's mane. "For everything." Zecora's eyes were beginning to flutter shut, but she still spoke, albeit in a hushed voice. "You were wonderful, a true dragon, worthy of the body you now possess." It seemed like a great effort for her to just stretch out his... Blech, my bad. It seemed like a great effort just for her to stretch out her neck and kiss Spike one more time before her eyes closed entirely. "From this day forward, if your fire ever rises, I shall sate it. My body to you I bless."
She basically just told him that whenever he needs to fuck, she's there to fuck him.
Yep, the sensual zebra fell asleep to the rise and fall of Spike's chest. He wasn't too far behind her, but before he fell asleep, he had a happy thought, affirming that being an adult dragon was going to be pretty interesting. Here's to waking up with another itch that needs scratching. The end.
That was a pretty good story.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to the cover and see who did this. It was... Rainbow Bob. I know this author.
Ah,
Well, Rainbow Bob,
great story.
you did a really good job.
Very good story.
Anyways, that was Stripes and Scales. We hope you enjoyed this. Sadly, it was the only one we had time for. But hopefully we will do one soon enough.
Yes.
Until then, this is JTH,
Mr. Tails, there you go.
and we will see you in our next reaction.
Later.
Goodbye.